Assalamu alaikum class. Hope everyone is fine. Today we are going to start with the functional English. Functional English being the first chapter, first subject of AFC level. So we start from the first chapter. This chapter actually starts with a little introduction to the English language. Actually, the writers want to brief you why this language has been added in this among other account subject. Actually, English is an international medium of communication. So the writer tells you how this language has got the status of international medium of communication. And in this concern, he gives you a brief history of this language. Actually, when the Britishers were in power, their native language was English, and so they worked hard for the promotion of their languages. And with the decline of the Britishers, when the Americans came into power, their native language was also English. So both of these superpowers, economic superpowers, worked hard for the promotion of this language, and gradually it has got the international medium of communication. This part of the chapter also includes a very important question, rather raises an important questions when when two streams are there. For example, the Britishers and the Americans being the third language speaker, which stream we have to follow. So we have been actually given a relaxation in the way that we can use both of the streams being the third language speaker. Basically, both of the streams discriminate on the point of spellings. Otherwise, all other as far as the rules of grammar are there, both of them are the same. In the end, the writer closes this history by saying that English actually is a forgiving language. We can always, being the third language speaker, we can, with relaxation, we can use it with some gestures and postures as well. Okay. So now we move on to the next level of the chapter. This level actually discloses what the grammar is. Fine. It starts with the definition. Actually, the grammar actually is a system and structure of the language. It gives in detail what is actually the setup on which this language is built up. So the grammar, the studying of grammar in details actually reveals what are different words, how they are arranged, what are different rules, how this language is being constructed. The first explanation of the ordering of words is the parts of speech. The parts of speech actually is an important part that plays an important role in the grammar. Now we move on to the second part of the chapter number 1. It tells about the grammar, and it starts from the definition of grammar, what actually the grammar is. The writer defines it in a way that it is a set of perspective notions, and it is also system and structure of a language. Fine. The grammar actually tells us the rules and the selection and ordering of words. What do we mean by word? Words are actually belong to different classes depending how it is used in a sentence. These different classes are called parts of speech, and there's 8 standard part of speech in grammar. That includes verb, adverb, noun, pronoun, adjective, preposition, conjunctions, and introduction. In this chapter, writer is disclosing them on a very brief platform, and from the chapter number 4, actually we will be having the detail of all these parts of speech. As far as the definition is concerned, in this chapter we try to cover with the definitions, and primarily we would start from the verb. What actually the verb is. Verb being the basic part of a sentence that defines, we can define a verb in a 3 ways. Fine. For example, a verb discloses the actions of action, state, and occurrence. These are 3 different functions of a verb. What do we mean by action? He is moving fast. Here the verb is disclosing the action of the subject. He is a player. Here is a verb. Actually is showing what is the state of the subject, position of the subject. He is in batch number 4. Here is disclosing the occurrence of the subject. Fine. So these are the basic 3 parts of a verb which it fulfills in a sentence. Now what do we mean by adverb? Adverb actually is the second level of verb. He runs fast. Runs. Runs is an action verb, and fast describes how this verb has been performed. In subsequent chapters, whenever we'll be reading in detail about the adverb, we would be actually studying different kinds of adverb. But here I just want to give a little definition of adverb in the way that adverb is a word which adds to the meaning of a verb. Here runs was a verb, and this verb fast was adding to the quality of this verb. So how this running has been performed? It has been performed with a fast speed. So fast here is an adverb. This was the second part of speech. Now we move on to the noun. Noun actually is the name of, which we have been studying it from the very preliminary classes. Noun is the name of a word, noun is the name of a person, place or thing. Fine. Here we have given a broad vision to the area of a noun. Noun actually is a naming word for person, place, thing, state, action as well. Person. If girl is a common noun, Sara is a proper noun. Place. City is a common noun, Lahore is a proper noun. Thing. All things have got different names. The common names are called chair, bag. State is the what? Youth, childhood, that is a state. Action, thinking, swimming. So the noun has got a little bit of the status of noun actually has been elaborated, which we have studied previously. What do we mean by pronoun now? Pronoun actually is, if we go with the definition, pronoun is the replacement of a noun. When Sara was a noun, if we are going to brief Sara, or if we are going to give an information about Sara, we start with the sentence, Sara is a student. And secondly, if you want to give some other information about Sara, I'll be not using Sara. I'll be replacing this name with the word she. She is a good student. So pronoun actually is an addition, is a replacement of noun. There are different pronouns in the grammar. For example, they are called personal pronouns. Again, in chapter number 4, we'll be studying in detail about the pronoun. But in this chapter, we are just considering the definition. The personal pronoun includes she, he, they. It is called impersonal pronoun. And there are some other in detail we will be studying in chapter number 4. Again, the next term is called adjective. Sometimes we want to give a detail to the things. For example, we want to add a quality to the things. Then we'll be needing a word which is called adjective. Adjectives actually tells us about the quality of the words. Sara is a good student. What is the good doing over here? Actually, good is defining the quality of the student. So what do the adjectives do? Adjectives add to the information of the words. Fine. It's not only the quality. It might be the number. It might be the quality, number, demonstration, interrogation, etc. By quality we means Sara is a good student. Quality tells us how actually the noun is. Fine. The quality might be the poor as well. He is a poor boy. Number, I have 1 pencil. Demonstration, this bag. Interrogation, which bag? Right? Now we move on to the preposition. What do we mean by preposition? Let's start from the definition. Preposition is a word जो कि खुद ही बता देता है सब कुछ अपने बारे में. If we break this word, it comes like this way. Preposition. So basically what preposition does? Preposition tells us about the position and relationship of words in a sentence. He is moving on the road. The book is lying in the bag. Here the two words are the prepositions, on and in, both of giving the sentence a coordination. For example, he is a pronoun, road is a noun. This on word is giving a relationship between the movement of he and road. The book is in the table. In here is a preposition. It is disclosing what actually is the position of a book in the bag. Now the next term is of conjunction speech, that is named as conjunction. As the word tells, conjunction, a word which gives a junction to the other word. The most commonly used conjunctions in grammar are and, or, but, if, so. In chapter number 4, we'll be studying in detail about the conjunction. We are left with the last part of speech, that is named as interjection. Hurrah, alas, are the interjections. Now, what is the interjection actually? Interjection is a word which gives a connection to the explanation of a sentence actually. For example, these two commonly used interjections are hurrah, alas, oh, ah. They are used in exclamatory sentences. Now we move on to the sentence. As far as the definition of sentence is concerned, sentence is a combination of words which gives complete information. What are words? Words are actually parts of speech which we have already studied. Now we are giving those parts of speech a combination. Sarah moves on the road. Here Sarah was a proper noun. Moves is a verb. On is a preposition. The is an article. Actually, article is not primarily a part of speech. Article actually is a subdivision of adjective. Road is a noun. So what we have done a combination to all the parts of speech to make this whole, and this whole is called a sentence. And we have actually tried on the completion of the message. We are giving this all the parts of speech in a way, we are combining them in the way that it is giving a complete information. Fine. Now, if we study about the structure of a sentence, we see we can always break a sentence into two different parts. One is named as subject, and the other part is named as predicate. Subject is a word which might be a person or an inanimate object. Fine. And it is sometimes the doer of an action, and sometimes it is a word about which some information is being passed. Predicate is actually the detail about the subject. So predicate is all the other information beside the subject in a sentence. Now we move on to what sentence can play different roles in our lives. For whenever we are communicating, we use sentences for different purposes. Sometimes for explanation of the information, sometimes for making questions, sometimes for asking any help, and sometimes for making a command. On the basis of all these functions, we divide two classification of a sentence in two classifications. The first is called structural classification, and the other is called functional classification. In chapter number 7 of this book, we have a detail of these classifications. In chapter number 1, the writer has just figured out the different names or the definitions. As far as the structure classification is concerned, by this we means we consider this structure classification. It has got three kinds: simple sentence, compound, and the third is called complex sentence. A fourth form of structural classification is there, but that is in chapter number 7, compound complex. As we are discussing the structure classification, so it is important we discuss all the 4 types in this part. But what do we mean by simple sentence? A sentence is called, as the name is describing it, a sentence might be simple when it has got a simple information. No, actually it is not the criterion of considering a simple sentence. By simple sentence, we means whenever we have only one verb. He is a good teacher. Here I have only one verb, is. Fine. If I increase the number of subject, he and his brother are playing. Here I have added the number of the doers or the subjects, but both of them are doing the same action. I will not consider this sentence as compound sentence. I would call it a simple sentence. Why? Because both of them are doing one action. So whenever there is one verb in a sentence, that is called as simple sentence. Now we move on to the compound sentence. If we define a compound sentence, we define it in a way, a sentence which has minimum two or more than two verbs. Whenever a sentence has two or more than two verbs which are joined with a conjunction, which conjunctions? Coordinate conjunction. Coordinate conjunction, that is called compound sentence. Okay, fine. Now we come on to the example of this compound sentence. He is a good writer and he writes comedy. Here is a one verb and writes is another verb. These two verbs have been joined with a conjunction and, so this is called as compound sentence. Now we move on to the complex sentence. What do we mean by complex sentence? As the name describes, there must be some perplexity or the confusion. No. Actually, this complex name is given to the type of a sentence on the use of the conjunction. We are using in complex sentence, we use subordinate conjunction. Subordinate conjunction. Subordinate conjunction actually is a conjunction which creates a doubt in the sentence. So on the basis of this doubt, this sentence is given the name of complex sentence. If we go with the definition, we would call it a sentence which has minimum two or more than two verbs when they are joined with a subordinate conjunction, that is called a complex sentence. What are subordinate? The most commonly subordinate conjunctions are if, that, when, why, which. If we join two verbs using this conjunction, that sentence would be called as complex sentence. Now we come on to the example. Example of complex sentence. He is a good writer that's what he thinks well. That here is a conjunction. Is one verb, thinks is another verb. When these two verbs are joined with a subordinate conjunction, this sentence is called as complex sentence. Now we move on to the last type of a sentence, which has not been described in chapter number 1, but I'm doing it as with this type along with these three types, because this would make the whole of the topic. Compound complex sentence. As the name describes, it must be the characteristics of both the sentences. It must be using it must be using coordinate conjunction as well as subordinate conjunction. So whenever we define it, we say when two or more than two verbs are joined with coordinate and subordinate conjunctions, the sentence is called as compound complex sentence. Compound complex. Like this sentence must be containing an information which is having both the conjunctions. For example, if we go with the example, we say he is a good player, but he is not playing today because He is not well. But is a coordinate conjunction because is a subordinate conjunctions. Is a verb. Again, is a verb. Again, the third verb is. So as far as the definition goes, we can always calculate the definition in this sentence. When two or more than two verbs, we have three verbs here, and these three verbs are joined with the conjunction. Which conjunction? Because and but. So this sentence is called as complex sentence. It was all about the structural classification of a sentence. Move on to the functional classification. What do we mean by functional classification? It tells us for different functions how different sentences are used for different functions. As we have already discussed, we might use sentences for the disclosing of our information, or making some questions, or sometimes asking some question for some interrogation, or asking some any other thing, or sometimes we need to disclose our pleasure and the anger as well. So all these different emotions will be needing different kinds of sentences, and those different kind of sentences are discussed under the topic of functional classification. As far as we discuss it, we come to know that it has got different types. The first one is called as declarative sentence. The second is called as interrogative. The third is called as exclamatory. The fourth is called as imperative. The fifth is called as optative. Fine. These are five types of sentences which are used under the topic of functional classification. What do we mean by declarative sentences? Whenever we are disclosing information, we'll be needing this type of sentence. He is a good teacher. This sentence comes under the category of declarative sentence. Whenever we are making questions, how or where are you going? It raises question. Exclamatory sentences. Whenever we are in a state of above average emotions, we'll be needing these exclamatory sentences. Okay? For example, in part of speech, we have read one part of speech as interjection. For example, hurrah and alas. These sentences actually depicts our above average emotions whenever we are in a state of pleasure, or whenever we are in a state of sorrow, we'll be needing these sentences. Fine. Hurrah, that discloses the pleasure, and alas, that discloses the sorrow or anger. Imperative sentences. Imperative sentences disclosing the command or request. Command, request, or suggestion. If we are making any one of these application, we'll be needing imperative sentences. The examples are: shut the door, help him. These are imperative sentences. And the last part is called as optative sentences. What do we mean by optative sentence? Whenever we wish, make a wish or pray, we'll be needing this sentence. For example, may you live long. It is a wish, and that is called as, and this sentence is called as imperative sentence. sorry. It was all about the structure and function. It has a little bit of variation in the definition. Adverbial actually might be an adverb or adverb phrase. Adverbial might be an adverb or adverb phrase. He moves fast. He is a subject, moves is a verb, and fast is an adverb. He moves fast on the road. He is subject, moves is a verb, fast is an adverb, on the road is a phrase. Adverb plus phrase is known as adverbial. So adverbial is a term which can specifically be used for the adverb as well as the adverb phrase. This was all with the chapter number 1. I think you must have read well about the structure of a sentence, function of a sentence, what actually the sentence is, and we started rather this journey with the definition of our grammar.